Hello, hi everyone. I am not Kimberly. Monday nights are usually Kimberly's live talks, but Helene asked if I could come on tonight and just talk with you guys about really anything I wanted to. So today I decided, since I'm going through an injury, to talk about plant-based eating and injuries and what you can do. So, if you don't know who I am, my name is Kayla Slater. I'm a registered dietitian and online dietitian nutrition run coach. And my specialization is in working with endurance athletes, specifically those that want to be plant based or already are vegan or plant based and want to do it right. So, really what I'm going to be talking about is really related to what I do and the people that I help. And maybe some of you go into that category as well. Maybe you're active and also plant based. This message is for you as well. And also, I am going to focus more on, treatment and prevention and what we can do. But a lot of this is also, or sorry, more treatment side of it. But really, a lot of this can also be related to prevention of injuries and stress fractures. And that is as well. And as I said, I am a registered dietitian. I am not, a orthopedic surgeon or anything like that. But I do want to share some of the things that I've been learning through my journey, and things like that to help. And then, of course, bring you guys some information and tips and things like that on the nutrition side of it, or talk about what I will be doing. So let's get into it. And we're not going to keep this too long. But of course, if you guys have any questions, feel free to comment before I get going as well. I just want to thank VegKey for sponsoring this month's live talks, Virtual Veg Fest. And you can find out more information from them at vegkey.com. Also, make sure to go to Virtual Veg Fest, enter the contest at virtualvegfestlive.com to win awesome prize packs. So also check that out as well. So, as I mentioned, I wanted to talk about injuries and plant-based eating because that is kind of something that I am going through personally right now. So I am experiencing. So I will, let's see, let's back it up a little bit for anybody that doesn't know my story or know who I am, or much about me. I have been vegan. I've been plant-based for over 5 years. And I've been running for over 10 years. And this is my first stress fracture. So, of course, when I found out the news, I was pretty bummed. But what's interesting is this has actually been going on, I believe, has been kind of going on for the last 2 years. And I've had a lot of life changes in my life, and I've been also really trying to train really hard to run Boston. So, a lot of things going on. And at the same time, also trying to, work with clients and helping them to eat enough and possibly not paying enough um, attention to my own nutrition. And it really shows how important nutrition is. Now, this I want you to also understand is that when it comes to bone health, 80, I believe, don't quote me on these percentages, but around 80% is genetics. And that's we can't control, right? We can't control our genetics when it's related to our bone health. But one thing we can control is nutrition. And that's why I've always been so interested in nutrition, because it's one thing that we can control. And it does contribute to 20% of your bone health. It contributes to 20% of you healing faster. So that to me is worth it. Maybe that's not a very high percentage, that maybe you'd feel like, well, my nutrition or diet doesn't really matter, but it does somewhat come into play and have some it really does have an effect on it. So diet is important, and it can help prevent and also help treat injuries. So when it comes to bone injuries, you probably know the most important nutrients that are important for our bones is calcium and vitamin D. So I want to talk about those two nutrients. I do want to also mention as well, before I get into really talking about the nutrients and the foods that we need to be eating more of, is why it's so important as well to make sure that you're eating plant-based the right way. If you're active, if you're an athlete, is because of this reason, because we can leave out nutrients or may not be eating enough of certain foods to be getting the nutrients that we need to prevent these injuries. So, plant based can contribute to osteoporosis, which contributes to poor bone health, and also our hormones take into play as well. So, if you're female, no matter what your age are, there's somewhat those hormones are coming into play. Whether you're premenopausal woman or you are postmenopausal woman, in some phase of your life, those hormones are also going to take into play your bone health. Another thing as well is body weight. If you are a low body weight or you have consistently chronically ate really low calories, that contributes to it as well. I also see bone injury, especially in, female athletes, those that have an underlying eating disorder or past eating disorder, that's usually shows up as well. For myself, I can tell you, as I said, I will be honest and vulnerable here. As I mentioned before, I have been helping others and a lot of life changes and things happening and not paying as attention to my diet. So, for me, looking on, and I'm still kind of in that phase. I just found out last week that I have this actual stress fracture and got the actual diagnosis. So, I'm still trying to figure out, how this happened. What did I do wrong? What could I have done better? What are the things? And the two biggest things that I know are my diet and just simply not eating enough or eating enough of the right foods, or eating enough calcium, because my body has actually been craving calcium, which I think is really interesting. And I tell people all the time, if your body's craving something, then it means that you're lacking it. Your body is smart. And if you get to that place that you can do that, it's actually pretty cool. And so I do eat well enough that and am in tune with my body enough where it actually does crave foods. And lately I've been kind of ignoring that because I'm like, I don't want to eat cheese. I'm vegan. I can't eat cheese. So I've been kind of pushing that away and kind of ignoring it. But I just want to throw out there that don't ignore those. Don't ignore those things. Find somebody that can help you to figure out where can I get these nutrients from plant-based foods, because I don't want to eat dairy. Um, so make sure to work through that and don't ignore it. And the same thing with any injury, don't ignore it. If you feel pain, get help, get it checked out as soon as you can. That's the best thing you can do. So what can you do for prevention or treatment of bone injuries? As I said, when it comes to diet, calcium and vitamin D are the most important. So we can get calcium from our foods. You don't necessarily have to get calcium from dairy, which we all are taught when we grow up or when we're younger, to make sure to drink milk and eat cheese to get our calcium. Well, we can get calcium from green leafy vegetables like our kale and our spinach, also broccoli, almonds, legumes, and then there's fortified foods as well. There are foods that are fortified with calcium. So plant-based milks can be fortified with some calcium and vitamin D. Orange juice, tofu, soy milk. These are all fortified as well of calcium. So these are all foods we want to make sure we're incorporating and eating more of. And I suspect I'm probably just not, if my body's craving it and I did develop a stress fracture, then most likely I'm just not eating enough of those foods. And I can tell you honestly, I don't always have my green leafy greens. I eat them, but I can't tell you I eat 2 cups a day. I don't even know, maybe once a week sometimes. It don't always, I'm not always perfect with my diet, but now I realize that it really is important, especially when I'm running a ton of miles or think that I can do it. Well, I can if I don't eat properly. So we all learn from our mistakes, right? And even a dietitian and someone that works with endurance athletes, as a sports dietitian, I make mistakes as well, but we learn from, right? Um, and then the other nutrient, right, is vitamin D. Vitamin D is very important as well. And vitamin D is hard to get in a plant-based vegan diet. Possibly mushrooms, but it's indirectly because mushrooms have UV light or they're treated with UV light to be grown. So it's really indirectly from the sun. So most of us know we can get vitamin D from the sun. Most of us are deficient in vitamin D, even if we're not plant-based or vegan. So I know a lot of doctors do prescribe vitamin D supplements. I know most people that I work with, clients, their doctor puts them on a vitamin D supplement if they find that they are deficient in vitamin D. So vitamin D deficiency is very, very common. And really the best source is the sun. But for some reason, some people just can't convert the vitamin D in their body because vitamin D is actually our hormone and our body converts it, through the sun and through our skin, converts it to the vitamin D for our bones to use to help strengthen our bones and works with calcium. So for some reason a lot of people were just deficient and we're not getting enough, so that could be something that I want to look at even myself. Maybe I should look to see if my vitamin D is low or not. And I do supplement vitamin D. That is something that I'm pretty good, not always perfect, but try my best to try to get my vitamin D supplement in. Um, and really a lot, or at least what they say, what what is, been what's out there, and what they say is that we really only need 10 minutes of vitamin or the sun without sunscreen. So or every day. So we shouldn't need that much, but as I said, I think everybody just converts vitamin D differently in our bodies and just kind of depends. So those are the two biggest nutrients that are important for bone health, and especially for any activities that you do that are bone strengthening. So running, jumping, basketball, dancing, all of these, activities that are bone strengthening or, really hard, not hard on the bones, but put pressure on your bones. It's important to make sure we have good bone health as we age, especially. Another thing that I did want to mention real quick as well is one other nutrient that's important for collagen production is vitamin C. We also want to include vitamin C. And I wanted to specifically talk about this because I think there's a lot of information out there about collagen, and a lot of people feel like they have to take a supplement, but collagen is not vegan. So there are vegan collagen. I have found vegan collagens out there, so they do have them, and really they're just nutrients that help produce that collagen. So one of those nutrients or vitamins is vitamin C. Where do we find vitamin C? Where do we get vitamin C? Well, that is from our fruits and our vegetables are high in vitamin C. Oranges. We all know oranges, right? We all know oranges are good in vitamin C. Well, we need to be eating more oranges. We need to be eating more fruit. And I also know a lot of people that stay away from fruit because it's too sweet. And they don't like fruit. Well, this time of year, it's June. Fruit is in season. Eat your fruit for collagen production. It is good for you. Fruits are good for you, even though they have sugar. Fruits are great to substitute as well for, those processed desserts, those, candy, things like that. Fruit is great to replace that as and eat less. Not saying you can't have any of those other desserts or candy, but eating right more, replacing more with actual fruit. And you'll also find, if you're kind of new to this way of eating, you'll also find once you switch to eating more fruit, you may find as well that that gives you the sweetness and the satisfaction that you're looking for. And when you go to eat the candy, you're like, oh, I don't know about this. At least that's the way it was for me. I know it's not that way for everybody, but for the most part, most people that I have worked with, they've had the very similar experience to that as well. Um, so I just wanted to add that as well. Another thing I wanted to add real quick too, I know we're coming up on 15 minutes or so. I don't want to make this too long, but one other thing I wanted to add to this as well is this is also not the time for weight loss. When you're healing from an injury and you're out of your sport, you may feel like, oh, well, this would be a good time to work on my body composition or my weight loss. And I will tell you personally as well, I'll getting vulnerable here, guys. I have thought about this as well. I thought, well, I could be out for a couple months. I could be out for 6 months. Well, if I can't train, I can't run marathons, then maybe I'll work on weight loss. Well, that is actually not going to help. Having the weight loss focus is not going to help me to heal this injury, to heal this bone. So just remember that as well, because nutrition is just as important as when you were training. Nutrition is just as important. I need to make sure that I'm fueling my body properly, giving my body the right nutrients. I need to still make sure I'm eating enough as well in order to help heal this. If I'm not eating enough, then I'm not going to be able to get the right nutrients or enough of those nutrients to help my body heal. And I can bet you this is probably my biggest problem that I'm personally dealing with is eating enough, because I eat all these foods. I eat all the foods that I should be eating. But if I'm not eating enough of them, then I'm not getting the right amount of nutrients. And if I'm not supplementing, then that's how you get an injury, right? As well as overuse. It's also an overuse injury. So be careful as well about, really loading on the amount of activity that you do as well. When you add, for example, because I'm work with runners, I'm a runner myself. I always go towards working, talking about running, but when you add on miles too fast, too quickly, over time, or that can also lead to an injury or specifically a stress fracture as well. And also overuse over time in, really just doing the same activity. So also mixing your activity up can also be helpful. So those are just some things I wanted to share. I know some of that is, kind of based on some of my personal experience, but also I said, as a dietitian, talking about this nutrition piece, hopefully this is helpful as well. So, of course, if you guys have any feedback, feel free to, let me know what you thought of this, or if you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out to me. I did put my Facebook group under this bar here. If anybody would like to join my Facebook community, it is for specifically for plant-based performance athletes or runners. You can also find me on Instagram at plant-based_performance_RD, or you can email me as well at KaylaSlaterRD@gmail if you guys do have any questions or just want to talk. As I said, I'm, um, always available, not always available, but I love to talk about this. And if you guys have any feedback, don't hesitate to reach out. So I hope this was helpful. I hope this gave you some insights, but wanted to share some of my experience as well as, some of the information that I've learned and know as a dietitian about what our, how important our nutrition is, and also why I'm so passionate about this topic as well, because it is so important that we are doing this and eating this way in the right way, because we can unfortunately do more damage to our bodies than actually good, which none of us want to do, right? We're doing this from the good of our heart, for the animals, for the environment. We want to make sure we're eating properly and doing it the right way for our health as well. So, again, I hope this was helpful. Thank you guys for listening. If you were on, I know this is not Kimberly's show. So, hopefully, you guys enjoyed this. Thank you so much, and we will see you next time. Bye.